going on, everyone? Wednesday, May 5th. So now to just get into the market. Had kind of a nasty day yesterday, and check out this bottoming tail. So buyers stepped in, held the 20 SMA. We're getting the gap up today. A lot of daily charts are a mess, not very clean. So now just getting into the levels that I'm looking at for SPY. So prior day's low, 411.67. It's pretty far away. I don't think we'll get there, but you never know. Prior day's high, 416.60, but also knowing that there is a lot of resistance up at 418, and then knowing that all-time high is above at 420.72. So just having them all, even though I think a lot of these levels won't come into play, just knowing where they are just in case. And now looking at the Qs, so these sold off a little harder than the SPY, and the main levels that I'm looking at, like always, prior day's low, 326.21, prior day's high, 333.89. If we get above that, there is a small gap to fill, but also noting that the 9 EMA is above, so it could be resistance at 336.64. And now getting into the watch list, I'm not watching a lot because the market, I feel like, has been a little less active lately. There hasn't been a ton going on. So watching Tesla, of course, because that's the #1 stock that I like coming into each day. So just watching the basic levels, prior day's high, 683.45. Prior day's low, it's pretty far away. I have no idea if it's going to come into play, but just knowing where it is, 657.70. Pre-market low, 675. Pre-market high at 684. And I also have the 9 EMA marked on the chart because it is now above, and that could be resistance if it gets there at 697.80. Also looking at FDX, and the reason I like this is because the all-time high, it's trading right at it. Nice big candle 2 days ago, inside day the prior day, all-time high is 305.66. It just barely broke at pre-market. And then also knowing that pre-market high is 306.19. So those are the two main levels that I'm going to be watching. Also watching Facebook. So the reason I'm watching this is because it's still above the 9 EMA. It did show some weakness, but it got right to the 9, held it. Buyers stepped in at that point. So if it can get back above prior day's high, maybe this can start to work its way higher, assuming that the market holds up as well. So the levels that I'm watching, prior day's high, 322.19, pre-market high, 320.45, and pre-market low, 317.26. And then the last one on the list is CAT, and this looks pretty good. Nice period of consolidation, all-time high, 237.78. If it breaks that, this does look like it has room higher. So the levels that I'm watching today, prior day's high, 234, pre-market high, 234.87, and then obviously the most important level is this all-time high at 237.78. That's the watch list. Those are the levels, and like always, I'm going to try to patiently wait for a quality setup. All right, well, FDX off the open, trading very thin at the moment, but pretty much just went straight up. In a perfect world, I really wanted to see this consolidate kind of right around this 306 area, hang there for a little bit, and then have some sort of like 10 or 15 minute opening range break. I would have really liked that. So now that it just popped straight up, I'm going to be a little careful, but still, if it has a nice push, clean consolidation, nice flag pattern, I would be looking to take that trade. So I'm watching this Tesla, sold off a little bit. Does look like it is flagging right around the pre-market low at 675. Never super comfortable with shorting Tesla, so I want to make sure to be careful. If I take the trade, I will size down a little bit just because it feels like the market once again is just a little slower, a little bit lower volume. So in order to kind of protect the downside, I just feel comfortable with sizing down a bit. It doesn't feel like the action is A+, and that's kind of my way of going about making sure to be careful. I'm going to go for the pre-market low break. 3 contracts. Filled at 13.84. Just want to see if this can break and start to speed up. Okay, we got the break. All right. Very nice. All right, I'm going to take that quick trade right there. So that was just a nice flag pattern, and because the market was a little iffy and Tesla on the daily chart is not necessarily in the cleanest area, sized down a little bit because I still wanted to take the trade, and then of course, like always, the moment it started to speed up, just took the profits. So I'm still watching Tesla. Maybe it has a little bit more downside room if it gets through 674, takes out the low of day, but I want to be very careful because I'm also watching SPY and Qs. SPY sold off a little bit, found a little bit of support right? So unless this continues to roll over, I want to be careful about shorting Tesla. But if it starts to show some weakness, then maybe there's more downside room. And then also looking at the cues, quick sell-off, found some support, so just hanging in there. So now really I'm just going to wait to see what happens with these upside moves. Do they materialize to something bigger, or is it a sell the rip, they get stuffed, kind of like how the market has been recently, and then things roll back over? So I'm just going to wait, patiently wait to see what happens, and then try to go with the flow. And this is a great example why I like to take the quick move. When I'm in Tesla and it starts to go 1-2 points in my favor, I usually always just take those profits, because you never know when it'll do something like this. And I've been caught in stuff like this before. So whenever I'm in profit, I quickly just take it, because I can always reevaluate another trade after the fact. And just like that, the tables have turned pretty quickly. So approaching the market with no bias, I just focus on price action. That was a big move. Now, what I would like to see is if this can flag right around the high, if it can hang out and consolidate for a handful of minutes, I believe that there is a possibility that it could go higher, and I would look to take that for a scalp. And there it goes. So that was pretty quick. But for me, this is not a clean flag pattern. This is a little all over the place. A clean flag pattern would have been probably 2 or 3 more minutes of consolidation and then go. It's pretty quick. Sometimes they work and it's great when they do, but I've been caught in a lot of times taking those quick flag patterns and then they come right back in. I take a quick loss, and I wished that I had just waited a couple more minutes, which means sometimes letting things go, and I'm okay with that. And that is a good example right there, just a minute after me talking about it. Quick flag, yes. It's easy to get the FOMO and think that I'm going to miss out on some huge move, especially because it started to break some technical levels, prior day high and pre-market high, but it's all about how it got there. It just came from 674. It went straight up 11 points. The last thing that I want to do is chase that, because if I was good, I should have already been in that trade. What I like to do is notice that it's had a very strong move. The buyers have clearly stepped in just for the short term. And now I want to see if this move can hold up. If it can consolidate, stay above VWAP, stay above the 9, hang out for 5 or 10 minutes, and then break the high, I feel a lot better about that setup versus just chasing strength. So the price action on the other names that I'm watching is pretty choppy. So just looking at Facebook, all over the place. Looking at CAT, that is an ugly intraday chart so far. Looking at FDX, had the pop, and now has just given it back. Taking a look at SPY, sold off a little bit, tried to make a push over VWAP, has failed so far, so no clear direction. And then same thing with the Qs, just a little all over the place. So really, Tesla had the big strong move. So I would like to have this hang out for a little bit longer, and then also start to see some buying come into SPY and Qs, and then I would feel good taking Tesla long right around this 685 area. So for me right now, it's just about patiently waiting. I have zero FOMO. I don't feel the need to try to constantly catch the move. It either has the nice push, consolidates a little bit, gets to that 685, or it's a no trade. And then here's the cool thing about being a scalper is I literally have no bias on which way something should go. I just try to react to the price action. If for some reason the market starts to sell aggressively and SPY and Qs start to fill the downside gap because they had a slight gap up, and Tesla gets back to low of day and starts to consolidate, then breaks low of day, I would look for a short. So it can be very difficult to do, but I'm able to quickly switch which way something should or shouldn't go just based on the price action alone. And then because I'm scalping, it's all about just taking those quick moves, and then I could care less what it does after the fact. And check out that rip being sold so far. Kind of goes to show the momentum in the market. It's just not there. I feel like it's a sell the rip environment right now. And that's why chasing those big, strong moves, or even chasing things that are pretty extended on the intraday, seems to work a lot less in the current environment. So now here's where I try not to overthink too much, because it's easy to drive yourself nuts, but just trying to think of where other people are positioned from a shorter term perspective. I'm sure a lot of people probably chase this move. See Tesla moving really fast. It's going higher. It's going to go to the moon. Let's get long. And then this is a very intense, pretty aggressive rejection. So I would think, just from a shorter term trading perspective, if this were to consolidate towards the lows and then break low of day, I would think a lot of people would want to stop out just in case. So there could be some sort of reaction. So as long as it doesn't get there right now, because this is way too many red candles in a row, I would be interested to take that trade, but it does need to hang out. Chill out, consolidate for a bit. I also want to see SPY and Qs start to get a little weak, which they're showing right now. And then I think that would be a decent setup. I'm going to take some Tesla right there for the low of day. Just want to see if this can break. At least had a green candle in between, so it looked like a nice flag pattern. Okay, big move. Took out low of day. Consolidated for a little bit. Nice move. So filled at 14.14 on the contracts. Nice move. That was a big move right there. I'm just going to take it. All right, so that was a quick trade. It did kind of hang out for a minute, but still below the VWAP, below the 9 EMA. Nice consolidation. Just got stuffed pretty aggressively all the way from 685 and then was right near low of day. Eventually finally took that out. Also went green to red on the day, and then SPY started to show some weakness and Q started to show some weakness. So just going with the flow of the market. And then the moment Tesla started to speed up to the downside, I just took the quick profits. Taking the quick flag right there. Just going with the flow. Tesla's showing a lot of weakness at the moment. Okay, getting out of that. So that was a good example of very quick flag pattern. It's definitely come a long way off the highs. Wanted to see that get going pretty quick. I did get a pretty quick move, and then the moment that it started to bounce, I just got out for flat. Gonna go for the low a day. 670. I just want to see if this has a little bit more downside room. Just going with the flow. Okay, getting out of that. So that was a good example of I wanted to see that go right away, especially that we're getting closer to that hour time frame. You know, right through 670, I felt like that was a nice flag pattern and that should have had follow through. And the moment that it got just under 670 and then reclaimed it and got back above it pretty quick, I just bailed on it for a flat trade. I'll go for the low a day. I'd like to see 668.50 break. All right, very nice. Filled at 1350. Okay, I'm just going to take that move right there. So very quick low a day scalp. And this probably has more downside room, but when it came into 668 and bounced off of it, like a true scalper, I just take the quick move. And we're also going on almost 1 hour into the day. And I'm at my best within the first hour. Anything after that, I've noticed that my win rate can go down drastically. And I'm also at the high end as far as the amount of trades that I like to take in a day. My average is anywhere from 2 to 5. The sweet spot is right around 3. I've taken 5. I got some decent trades to the downside on Tesla, which is not easy. I'm green on the day, so that means it's time for me to call it. So now let's go check out the portfolio. Ended up making $650 on the 675 puts, $170 on the 667 50s, and then managed the loss really well on the 670s to only lose $22 and be up $797 on the day, which is fantastic. So that's going to be it for me. I appreciate you watching the video. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.